I think, frankly, no one knows what this new order will look like. It's still very early days. We are in a period of transition and a period of evolution. There will be critics of today's system that say it's good that now the system is changing. But I would also say let's have a care. Let's not be too quick to cheer, because what is the alternative? So we have to think through very carefully how we can evolve a better system. And I'll give you two examples of global institutions that have come under pressure, but over the years have been able to reform and upgrade themselves.
Rio de Janeiro looks like it's preparing for a military confrontation rather than a meeting of leaders of the Global South. 17,000 police and soldiers surrounded the venue of the 17th BRICS Summit. Originally a forum for 5 emerging economies, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, it has recently expanded to 11 countries, including Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, the UAE, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia, which still has to formalize its entry. BRICS' goal is to exert pressure for a multipolar world with inclusive global governance to give a meaningful voice to the Global South, especially in the trading system. Brazil's presidential foreign policy advisor warns the multilateral order is collapsing.
So we are coming back to a kind of world disorder, which is very similar to the one that preceded the 2 world wars. We don't want a world dominated by the G7. We want a balanced world in which the interests of developing countries are taken into account.
Its parades in Beijing. There must be some real world reason why they do this. And of course, this is Taiwan. We all know this. Let's really be not naive about this. If Xi Jinping would attack Taiwan, he will first make sure that he makes a call to his very junior partner in all of this, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, residing in Moscow, and telling him, hey, I'm going to do this, and I need you to keep them busy in Europe by attacking NATO territory. That is most likely the way this will progress.
It's frustrating, and no matter how ugly it looks at times, we just have to be grateful that he's in the place he's in, where he says, it's in our national interest to try to end this as quickly as we can. It's in our national interest that we don't get involved. Mm-hmm. And so, like in all things in combat, in war, it's a changing environment daily. And it was a difficult night last night, but it's changing all the time for both sides. And you have to have somebody willing to be somewhat in the middle of this to try to broker the peace as it moves along. And I'm grateful he's there in that spot.
To your point about last night, Russia pounding Ukraine, 539 drones, 11 missiles focusing on Kyiv. We know President Trump spoke with President Zelensky this morning. We are waiting a readout from the White House, but what about the Ukrainian side of the equation?
Yeah, well, that's really painful. I think that no matter what happens in terms of where we are today, we have to ask ourselves, how do we get here? I don't think it was a good idea ever for the Obama administration, the Biden administration, to put Ukraine out there as a possible member of NATO. That wasn't a good start. Biden practically invited the Russians to invade. So, all these things, all these problems that a president inherits, they have a long tail on them, and he's trying to unwind it. And so I would say to the Ukrainians, just like President Trump is, we got to find a way out of this. And also, our national interest is making sure we have a strong military, obviously, strategic reserves on our ammunition, and we have been giving them a lot. And it's a dangerous world, and we've got to find a way out of this. They have to find a way out of this.
BRICS are larger than the G7 countries in terms of global GDP, but it's not a trade bloc, nor a military alliance. For all the security, the heads of state who would presumably want it most aren't coming. Russia's Vladimir Putin, for example, will be attending the meeting online because of the international arrest warrant issued against him by the International Criminal Court. And for the first time, China's president has declined to attend. This seen as a huge blow for fellow BRICS founder and host country Brazil. Prior to the summit, China had failed to convince BRIC foreign ministers to take a more aggressive position against President Donald Trump's tariff war. One of the forum's achievements has been the creation of a development bank for the Global South as an alternative to the World Bank.
Our bank is more than just a major bank for emerging countries. It proves that a reformed financial architecture is viable.
The summit agenda includes health, climate change, and artificial intelligence cooperation. But some claim the forum wants to challenge Western dominance.
It's undeniable that China dominates the bloc, but it's not like the Soviet hegemony. The bloc isn't super organized, nor does it have radical global impact.
The real question is, can an expanded BRICS, whose members have very different political systems and priorities, form a sufficiently unified bloc to have any significant impact?
Iran should come to the table and should sue for peace and should make a peace deal with the United States, with Israel, and just say no more. We want to be in the world where people seek prosperity and a bright future for their citizens. So, Jason, I think right now this puts a lot of pressure on our law enforcement, puts a lot of pressure on DOJ and the FBI to be right 100% of the time and seek out these sleeper cells and to make sure that they can't activate.
Well, you were the former acting attorney general. You have that interesting perspective. But my understanding is, Ambassador, that the supreme leader there in Iran, for the first time, we've actually seen him on camera since the devastating attack on the nuclear sites. What should we glean from that? And what in the short term and long term, what are we worried about here?
Yeah, well, it's coming from a place of weakness. The supreme, Ayatollah, needs to show his face, needs to demonstrate that he's still in charge. But at the same time, he's been militarily completely decimated. His nuclear program has been obliterated, and he's in a position of weakness right now, and he's just trying to hold together his power because, the 90+ million Iranian citizens want a better life. They don't want this war and conflict that he has fomented. It was kind of this policy of no war and no peace, where they had these proxy groups, and Israel put an end to a lot of that, took out their air defenses. And this is an interesting thing that's going on right now worldwide, is that air defenses are at a premium, they're low availability, and the United States, having just passed this one big beautiful bill, demonstrates through the this acceleration of the Golden Dome air defense and missile defense program, that ultimately we get it, and we're going to continue to be the world's preeminent superpower, and we will protect ourselves and our citizens.
And let me shift gears here, Ambassador. Give us the latest update. Ukraine, Russia's been bombarding the Ukrainians with drones. What's the latest there? What is the posture of the United States, and what involvement, if any, are we going to take in this war?
Yeah, well, on the one hand, President Trump, the ultimate peacemaker, has made the world safer through the peace deals between Rwanda and the Congo, India, Pakistan, Israel, and Iran, with the end of the 12-day war. But at the same time, this Ukraine-Russia situation, President Trump wants a peace. He wants a ceasefire, but Vladimir Putin, who he talked to a couple days ago, doesn't seem to want to come to the table and actually negotiate. It appears that Zelensky does. I was in the room last week in The Hague where President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky sat down and talked about this. But at the same time, it's one thing to attack militaries, and we have thousands of people every week dying on the battlefield. But, Vladimir Putin is now attacking major cities like Odessa and Kyiv. And I think that is a crossing the line. And I think President Trump has told Vladimir Putin that attacking citizens is just not something that you can do legitimately. And so, President Trump wants peace. He wants to bring this to an end.